Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video on the channel. As you can see, I am once again in new surroundings. I am back in school. The school year has begun, but that does not stop the push as the new Premier League season has kicked off. And in today's video, we will be talking about all the games very quickly and my takeaways and questions going into the rest of the season. Let's get right into it. Before we go anywhere, before we start, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you guys are enjoying the content you're seeing on the channel, make sure you show it. Make sure you support the channel. That is the only way this channel will continue to grow. That is if you hype the videos, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on everything you hear in the video. We're going to push for 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I'm going to do my very best to get as many videos out to you guys as possible this season. Of course, with school being in my final year, I'm going to have to balance the two. But when I do have the time, I'll make time to get those videos out to you guys, whether it be reactions to big games, discussing transfers, discussing trends that I'm seeing starting to form in the sport. I will get those videos out to you guys. So if you want to continue to see the channel grow and you enjoy what you're seeing, support. It's free. So the first weekday or opening weekend, or not even weekend because Chelsea played on Monday. And that's actually the reason why this video is coming out pretty late, because I wasn't able to watch the Chelsea game live because I actually was in class. So I said I would watch the game later, but we'll come on to that when we talk about Chelsea. But of course, the first game was opened by the Premier League champions, as it always should be. In my opinion, the champion should always be the team that opens the new season. And Arsenal went out and made a statement, as you would expect, coming up against a promotion side in Coventry, led by Frank Lampard. Arsenal were always expected to win this game, but I think the fact that Arsenal were just able to win the game as comfortably as they did was the main takeaway for me in this game. The fact that Arsenal were able to go out there and enforce themselves in Coventry. And a lot of people will say, well, Coventry, they look naive, and Coventry weren't really able to play their game or create anything. I think that's just a testament to how good this Arsenal team is. They were in probably second or even third gear, yet Coventry couldn't even lay a finger on them throughout the game. I thought there were many elements of the Arsenal setup that I really liked. Of course, Declan Rice, I was surprised he played the game and played a good amount of the game as well. Played in that sort of right center back position when Arsenal had the ball, joining Mosquera and Gabriel in the center back positions. Of course, there was the unveiling of Ezri Konsa. It'll be interesting to see how he gets integrated into this side. I thought Bukayo Saka and Martin Odegaard, two players who have been struggling with injuries and under a lot of criticism, from myself included, I thought they were back to their very best in this game. Two players who, if Arsenal want to retain this championship, are going to need to be at their very best. And I think even when those two players are at their very best, you see Arsenal playing a lot more freely, a lot more expansive. And I thought Arsenal were really, really good in this game. They were very exciting to watch. And I like it when the best team in the league is usually exciting to watch, because if they're going to be the best team in the league, if they're going to be the team that kind of sets the tone, they should be at least watchable. They should be at least entertaining. And I think Arsenal just started off this game and started off this season as they mean to go on, comfortable throughout. They made Coventry really pay for the mistakes that Coventry made. And to be honest, I didn't even think Coventry looked that bad. Of course, when you're coming up against the Premier League champions at home in your very first game in the championship in over 20 years, it's always going to be difficult. I thought Sims was decent at holding the ball up, but I do think Awoniyi needs to get integrated into this team very quickly. I don't think Sims has that quality on the ball that will help this team to stay in the league. I thought the wingers were bright, I believe their name. Thomas Asante, I can't remember the other winger, but the two of them were pretty dynamic and were causing Arsenal a bit of problems. But at the end of the day, they made big mistakes when they were trying to build up. They made big mistakes when they were trying to play out of the press, and Arsenal just made them pay. Every time Arsenal got the ball, you felt as though they were really going to make Coventry pay in this game, and it was pretty comfortable stuff for Arsenal. But moving from comfortable stuff to not comfortable whatsoever. And Hull, another promoted side, just like Coventry, came out 2-0 victors over Manchester United. And Hull City in this game were exactly what you would expect from a promoted side in their first game in the Premier League, being at home. They were physical, they were intense. The fans were really behind the players. They fought for every single ball, and they really tried their best to go out there and prove that they're at the level. And I think pair that with the fact that Manchester United did their very best to prove that they're also at Hull City's level. I think you just saw a game in which Hull City were pretty comfortable. Of course, Hull City were clinical, they were pragmatic and difficult to break down, just as they were in the championship throughout the playoffs and the regular season. This isn't a team that's going to blow anybody out of the water. This isn't a team that's going to outperform and create chances upon chances. They're going to take the chances when they get it. I thought McBurney in this game, generally, I was watching him sometimes and I was like, who's this guy feeling like? Like, there was a moment where he was dribbling through the midfield and I was like, who is this guy feeling like? But you also have to say, I do want to give Hull City credit for the performance. I thought it was very, very, very good. I thought the defender, Shemi Ajayi, and I believe it was Mamadou, I can't remember his name. That's actually very bad. I don't want to get his name because he did score the goal that won them this game. I thought the two of them were great defensively, and on top of the fact that they were the ones who got Noble Mendy, both of them getting those goals as well as being very good defensively. And on set pieces, Hull City were good. It's what you'd expect from a promoted side. For Manchester United, as I said it in my preview video coming into the season with all those teams that I felt were contenders, I don't think this Man United team strengthened enough, especially when you consider the fact they're going to have to play Champions League football. They're going to have to play more games. This is Michael Carrick's first full season. There's no surprise factor now with Manchester United. I don't think they changed enough in this team. I look at a lot of players in this team like Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire. How these guys are still playing for this club in 2027, I don't know. Mazraoui, Diogo Dalot. Even in the attacking areas of the field, I'm wondering who is the person that's supposed to create outside of Bruno Fernandes. Albeit Bruno Fernandes didn't have a good game. But if Bruno Fernandes doesn't have a good game, who is the player that you're expecting to kind of carry that load? Matheus Cunha is not a number 9, yet he played as a number 9 in this game. I'm not really sure why. Patrick Dorgu is not a player that can create anything for himself, and even the fact he started this game was kind of questionable in my opinion. And Bryan Mbeumo has been poor for Manchester United for the last 6 to 8 months. So it really makes you wonder, because I've seen Bruno Fernandes getting a lot of criticism for the performance that he dropped, and rightfully so. But I do think there are wider issues at this team. Even the midfield. I thought Andre Santos was pretty decent. I don't think there's much expectation surrounding Andre Santos. I feel like when you're signing a Chelsea midfielder who was probably like 5th in their pecking order, you don't really expect them to do anything crazy. I thought Yuri Tielemans was absolutely abysmal in this game. And now Carlos Baleba is going to be expected to raise the level in this Manchester United midfield. But of course, it's the first game. I just have huge questions in the aspects of the defensive areas, as well as who is really going to carry the creative burden outside of Bruno Fernandes in this team. I think this whole gimmick of running Cunha as a number 9 or Mbeumo, drop it. Benjamin Sesko up top or nothing. Marcus Rashford on the left or nothing. And maybe Man United can do something. It was a great day out for Hull. They'll be hoping they can build off this into their next game and continue to grow. Continuing on that theme of teams who are going to be in and around that relegation to mid-table positions, Everton and Crystal Palace. This was a very good game, in my opinion. This was, of course, Sage, the former Lens manager, his first game with Crystal Palace, set up in a similar way to Oliver Glasner's side. And to be honest, Palace looked like the better team in the first half, in my opinion. They were very bright. Nketiah was creating chances for Mateta. Mateta had about 1 or 2 big chances that he probably should have scored, and on another day he might have scored. There's a lot of murmurs about whether he's going to leave. To be honest, I don't really care about Mateta's whole drama. If the guy wants to leave, he should just leave. Like, I don't really understand what his game plan is. You're doing well at Palace. You've won trophies. You're not this world-class striker. Just enjoy yourself in London and play your football. But as I said, Palace looked bright in those first few moments. But of course, when you don't take your chances in this league, I think this league continues to show you that you need to take your chances irrespective of who you're playing. It was a very back and forth game, and Everton just took their chances. Once they got that first goal, they didn't really look back. That Dewsbury Hall goal was absolutely brilliant. I thought Tyreek George was very bright in the wings. Of course, Iliman Ndiaye likewise. And Louis Barry gets the second goal and cleans it up. David Moyes continuing his incredible time in this league, man. Honestly, I have to give credit to someone like David Moyes. He's not a manager who gets a lot of headlines and a lot of discussion in the general media, but when you have a manager who's been doing it this long at a very consistent level for this many years, all you have to do is praise him. Of course, new manager bounce continues, or new managers in the league continues, as Forest had their new manager in Oliver Glasner. And this was Oliver Glasner's first game, and unfortunately finishes in a loss with Leeds getting a last-minute goal. I didn't particularly catch a lot of this game, but Forest will be looking to build off of this. I think their next game is actually against, I'm not even sure who Nottingham Forest's game is, against Leeds. So they'll be hoping that, oh no, that's in the EFL Cup. Their next game is actually against Liverpool. And they'll be hoping that they can bounce back from this defeat. Of course, Oliver Glasner in your first game losing is not what you want. But coming up against a team like Liverpool, they might believe they might have something, especially considering the way Liverpool played against Newcastle. Ipswich against Sunderland was another game I didn't particularly catch. But again, another last-minute goal in that game to win it for Ipswich. And it's a big, big win for Ipswich, another newly promoted side. To be honest, all newly promoted sides, first game of this season, not really disgracing themselves. I thought Sunderland, that incredible goal from Angulo, as well as Enciso, just great football from both sides. I didn't particularly catch the game, as I said, but great goals in another 3 p.m. kickoff. And then the game that ended off the Saturday fixtures, And a game that was actually so interesting to see, like from start to finish, was Brentford versus Spurs. And it was interesting from the beginning because I looked at the lineups from Spurs, right? And this is a team, Spurs, who have spent, I don't even know how much money they've spent this summer, right? They've signed Mateus Fernandes, they've signed Tonali, they've signed Senesi, they've signed Van Hecke, they've signed players upon players upon players. Yet, the first game of the season, going away from home to Brentford, we know how difficult Brentford are to play. We know how difficult it is to play against Brentford. And your front four was Mikey Moore on the right, Richarlison in the number 9 position, Conor Gallagher in the 10, and Brian or Matisse Tell at left wing. Guys, the minute I saw that front four, I was like, okay, I think I understand that Spurs are not serious this season. Of course, they still have a lot of injuries and a lot of players to come back, so they'll be hoping that those players can kind of get back up to sharpness. I thought Solanke and Madison coming on, they'll be hoping that those players can regain sharpness and remove players like Conor Gallagher and remove players like Richarlison. Because some of those players, I look at them and I'm like, how are you still at this football club? Like, how do you even still play at an elite level, right? Like Conor Gallagher, for me, for years, he's proven he's a bang average footballer. This guy should not be playing for any team above Fulham in the league. Yet somehow he still manages to get these moves to genuinely good teams. He's moving to Chelsea. He's moving to Tottenham. There was a team he moved from Chelsea. He moved after Chelsea before he went to Tottenham. I can't particularly remember off the top of my head right now. But it's like, how is he getting these moves? The guy's a bang average footballer. Wasn't it Atletico Madrid? Yeah, this guy got to move to Atletico Madrid, the third best team in Spain. Conor Gallagher. Conor Gallagher is a bang average footballer. Bang average. Even Richarlison, I don't know how many games we need to continue to see Richarlison before a football club just terminates this guy contract. He's not a good player. And you saw that in this game. Like, Spurs just did not have any quality in so many areas of the field. Van Hecke looked lost. Senesi likewise. And Brentford were just brilliant. I mean, Brentford are a proper team. Like, Brentford are a clear example of teams in this league that if you're not up for it, if you're not fighting, if you're not running, if you don't have a technical proficiency to a certain level, these teams will kill you, bro. These teams will kill you. And Brentford, it could have been 4, it could have been 5, it could have been 6. Jensen, as always, was quality. Kayode, oh my God, this guy. You know, there's some players you watch and they play every game as though they're playing for a contract. That's the way Kayode plays. That is generally the way he gets up and down the field incredibly. His athleticism is ridiculous. He's very good on the ball. He's got a great long throw. His crosses are pinpoint. Pinpoint. I mean, there was a point in the game where I can't remember who it was that crossed the ball from the left. I think it was Sade, another great player, by the way. And he crosses the ball in and Kayade's at the back post and it's Matisse Tell defending him because the left back of Spurs, Andrew Robertson, who was likewise horrible in this game, he'd been dragged in by the Brentford right winger. And Kayode just leaps over him. Like, it was like bullying. I mean, Brentford are proper, man. Brentford are proper. Just a quality team. Very well set up. Very well instructed by Keith Andrews. They're looking to build off that incredible season, very unpredictable season they had last year, finishing what was in 9th. And they'll be hoping they can kick on again this season. And this first game just shows you that they're not here to mess about. But continuing on with the theme of teams that I said just won't let you breathe. These teams, if you're not playing at your level, if you're not playing at that peak level, they will make you pay. And that team is Brighton. Guys, Fabian Hurtzler and Brighton, right? Because there's so much quality in the league, I think sometimes we forget just how good some teams are. Say a Brighton, for example, a Bournemouth last season, a Brentford. Like, some of these teams are proper, man. Like Brighton in this game against Aston Villa. And of course, Aston Villa have had a lot of changes. Aston Villa have struggled. I mean, the lineup they put out, I mean, I'm seeing Barkley and Hemmings and Buendia. I'm like, yeah, Unai Emery, if you can make this work, we might need to knight you, bro. Because this team is absolutely skinned. And you saw that in the game. Brighton were all over them throughout the game. It was generally just comfortable. Hinshelwood continues to show his versatility in all positions of the field. And Brighton, as I said, they're one of those teams, if you don't take your chances, if you're not set up well, if you're not ready to compete, these teams will kill you. And within 30 minutes, the game was wrapped up. all said and done. I thought the mentality of some of the Aston Villa players, you could tell, just wasn't there. Conceding a goal and then taking kickoff and conceding a goal literally right after kickoff, I don't think that's a tactical thing. I don't think that's a quality thing. I think that's just a mental thing. A lack of focus, a lack of really being present in the game, and a real lack of fight. It's going to be a real uphill battle for Unai Emery this season. I'm not saying they're going to finish in the relegation zone or anything like that, because Unai Emery's bro, you guys, I've hung this painting. If you heard that, I've hung this painting in my room 3 times. It has fallen every single time. Every single time. Nevertheless, as I was saying with Aston Villa, big changes at the club. Brighton, quality as always. They'll be looking to kick on this season and continue to do what they do. Europa League football as well for Fabian Hürzeler. Should be exciting to see what they do. It should be interesting to see how Aston Villa balance all the football they have to play. Champions League, Premier League, and a very depleted squad. Moving on to one of the big hitters, and Manchester City faced off against Bournemouth. Manchester City got lucky, man. And really and truly, this game, on the face of things, when you look at the scoreline and you see 2-1 Manchester City and you see they scored a last-minute goal through Vardy, you generally believe, all right, this was a tough game for Man City. They probably didn't play that well. Bournemouth probably got unlucky, conceding 2 goals in the last 10 minutes. They probably could have snuck a win. I thought Manchester City were the better team in this game. I thought the setup from Maresca was very odd. It's not something we haven't seen before. Playing Guehi in the midfield, kind of having Rico Lewis playing as a number 10 in a way. We've seen all these shenanigans at Chelsea, playing Malo Gusto in the 10, playing Cucurella in the 10, all in the name of the system. Hopefully it doesn't stifle the actual good players in this team. I thought Phil Foden playing as high and as wide as he did in this game was very confusing. Of course, no one really knows what Phil Foden's best position is, but I damn well know it's not high and wide hugging the touchline. I thought Ryan Cherky, once again, being benched in this game, I don't know if it's a fitness thing. I'm not sure if it's a sharpness thing, because he kind of went far in the World Cup, but at the same time, the guy barely played. But I think this game just showed you once again that if Manchester City are going to achieve anything in this season, if Manchester City are going to even reach the expectation that was surrounding them coming into this season, Ryan Cherky is going to have to be playing. Ryan Cherky is going to have to be a huge factor. Erling Haaland, no goals again in this game, but he had a few chances that he probably on another day would have finished. I don't think it's many things to feel too bad about for Manchester City. Of course, they'll want things to be a bit more comfortable. But again, as I said, don't underestimate a lot of teams in this league. Bournemouth are a top team. So they got it just in the end. Ryan Cherky magic, a player who's... Ryan Cherky is just quality. I'm intrigued to see how he continues to grow in this team. I'm intrigued to see how Maresca utilizes him in this team. Hopefully his attitude doesn't prove to be a huge problem. We continue to hear that in the media and the reports. But I don't think it should be. Bournemouth as well, how they're going to go this season with Marco Rose after the departure of Anthony Iraola. They're also a very good team playing Europa League football. Should be interesting to see how both sides fare. With new managers at the helms at both clubs, will they be able to continue that standard and maintain those standards that they had from their former greats? And then we move on to, in my opinion, the blockbuster game of the weekend. The weekend had a whole host of great games that I said I would definitely tune in, but this was the game that I set aside my plans. I made a space on my calendar to make sure that I watch this game, and that's Newcastle versus Liverpool. And Newcastle versus Liverpool was what you'd expect. Of course, honoring Kevin Keegan, rest in peace to him. This was a great game. As you always expect from Newcastle versus Liverpool, I feel like Newcastle-Liverpool, especially at St. James's Park, is always a great game. And this game lived up to that billing. I thought Osula, Vissa, Barnes, Alanga, all the attacking players for Newcastle were so dynamic in this game. Newcastle, a team who a lot of people might have been speaking about them as though they're going to get relegated. I'm not really sure where this idea comes from. I feel like there are a lot of teams in this league that are worse than Newcastle. They have a lot of great players still in the squad. Of course, all those players I just mentioned. You still have Voltemata, who didn't even play in this game, but is a good player in his own right. You still have people like Lewis Hall, Livramento, young players that they signed from Ajax, and you even have Lewis Miley, who I thought was quality in this game. I genuinely thought he was brilliant, sweeping up, covering tracks, and just being a real tempo setter for Newcastle in this game, especially alongside a new player. I believe his name was Stur. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, from Ajax, 18-year-old himself, a double pivot of a 19 and an 18-year-old. I thought they handled themselves pretty well. Of course, one of their moments of lapses in judgment actually led to the Liverpool goal through Cody Gakpo. And Cody Gakpo, there's been a lot of talks. There's been a lot of rumors about whether he's going to leave, whether it be to Man City or to Tottenham. And I look at this Liverpool team, especially in the attacking areas. I don't know if that's a signing that you want to go through with. I'm not saying this as though Cody Gakpo is the best player in the world, but when you have Rio and Gamoa, who's still very young and still developing, you're not really sure whether you're going to acquire Bradley Barcola or Ibrahim Mbaye. Alexander Isak in this game just looked absolutely lost, genuinely lost. I'm looking at Florian Wirtz likewise. He's a player who you guys know I had huge stock in him coming into this Liverpool team, even when he was at Leverkusen. Guys, the guy looks lost, man. He doesn't even look like a player who looks like he wants to. I won't say he doesn't want to succeed, because he probably does want to succeed. I really question. I don't believe any football player would not want to succeed when it comes to their career, but he doesn't look hungry. And I don't know if that's his personality. I'm not sure if that's just the way he approaches football games, but the Premier League, you need to go out and get it sometimes. And I think sometimes he kind of lets the game pass him by. And this game was just the same. Isak, of course, coming back to St. James's Park, it was always going to be difficult. You could feel that the fans got into his head, and you saw that in his performance all over the place, lackadaisical, no real cutting edge in the attacking areas, was really just on the periphery. But for me, even outside of those attacking areas, and Anthony Raiola actually has a lot to work on with this Liverpool team, because I think Newcastle are a great team, right? Their manager, Matthias Jessler, I believe it is. I think Newcastle will be fine this season. I think they could finish in a whole host of positions. If things continue to go the way they went this game, of course, it's easier to turn up for a big game against a Liverpool compared to, say, a Fulham or a Bournemouth or a Brighton. With all due respect to these teams, it's easier to turn up at home against a Liverpool or Man City and Arsenal. But if Newcastle play even 75% of the way they played against Liverpool this past weekend, they will be perfectly fine this season. They will be perfectly fine. But Liverpool, I'm looking at that defense, bro. That defense, Liverpool signed 2 new fullbacks last season, and I think they need 2 new fullbacks. That is how bad those fullbacks are. Milos Kerkez, like, the best way to describe the two of them is they play football like youth team players. There's no composure in their game. Their touches are very, very inconsistent. Sometimes the decisions they make, you think about it and you look at it and you think, there's no way a seasoned professional should be making these sort of decisions. Jeremy Frimpong, I've said it before on this channel, I just don't think he's a good footballer. I don't think he has any good technical ability. I think he has great physical attributes, but in terms of keeping the ball, first touch, pass and move, dribbling, crossing, the guy is a horrible footballer in my opinion. Milos Kerkez, probably better in those aspects of the game, but I watch him sometimes and I think, you're just not ready for this. You look absolutely shook every single game you play. And I'm not sure if that's something that a manager can coach out of him. I'm not sure if that's something that he will develop, because this is now his second season. You probably want to give both of those players a bit more of a chance, right? But it's really concerning to watch. I'm looking at Van Dijk. This guy's 34, 35 years old. How old is Virgil van Dijk actually? I want to confirm. Virgil van Dijk is 35 years old. And I'm watching that game, and he's holding the hands of these two players, particularly Milos Kerkez. Gravenberch is being dragged out of position, and a lot of people will criticize Gravenberch. But can you really blame him when this guy's literally having to cover for fullbacks who are never in position? They're never, ever in position. Likewise, I thought Rio and Gamoa playing as a right winger was a net negative. It did nothing for Liverpool in this game. So why they even did it, I don't know. I'm not really sure what it added to them. Of course, they don't really have many options other than Victor Munoz. I thought he was bright when he came on, but my goodness. Liverpool have a lot. There's a lot of players in this team, not even the players they've signed, but a lot of players who are already at the club that really, really need to improve if Liverpool are going to do anything this year. I thought one of the few bright sparks was Jeremy Jacquet. I thought he was brilliant. A few duels. There was a moment in the game where it felt like Newcastle were really targeting him, but I thought he stood up to it. What is he, 18, 19 years old? First Premier League game away from home at St. James's Park. Real men, boisterous atmosphere. I thought he handled himself pretty well. But of course, the last game, and some people would say probably the game of the weekend, Fulham versus Chelsea. And guys, I have 3 words for you guys. Or I guess 4. Cole Palmer looks back. Look, I've been critical of Cole Palmer in these last 2 seasons because I believe it's been warranted. I thought last season he was subpar. Season before that, he was better, but still not the same level as that Cole Palmer we saw that year under Mauricio Pochettino. But this game, right? And I wasn't able to watch the full game because, long story short, the whole broadcasting just didn't have any replay ability. I don't know why, but I couldn't find a way to watch the full match back. So I watched extended highlights. But guys, from these highlights that I saw and from the discussions I've heard and from people I've spoken to who watched the game, Cole Palmer was absolutely ridiculous in this game. It felt like every highlight I was watching was Cole Palmer, whether it be a key pass that led to a chance for another teammate, whether it be a shot from himself, whether it be pressing high up the field, whether it be taking shots on, whether it be creating chances himself. In this game, I believe he didn't get 2 assists. Did he? No, he got a goal and an assist. One of the passes was to Lacroix, who then created the goal for Rodgers. He was involved in every single goal for Chelsea. He looked lighter. He looked hungrier for every single ball. And that front three of João Pedro, who's another player that I rate so highly. Morgan Rodgers, I said it in my video. I just think this guy's going to fit in seamlessly. I feel like players like this, they don't really need a betting in period. You know what they are. They know what they are in the team. They know their role. And they're going to come and do it to a good level. Whether they can get to that next level, we'll have to wait and see. But alongside of João Pedro, alongside of Cole Palmer, that front three looks scary, man. That front three looks scary. I think Chelsea looked very, very exciting. Chelsea looked very, very exciting. Prior to this season or prior to the first game, a lot of people were very high on Chelsea, including myself, because there's no European football to contend with. I think Xabi Alonso is a top manager. You have players in the squad who are good, but can hit that next level. And it's kind of a clean slate for Chelsea. And it feels as though the club is starting to turn a new leaf, giving the manager a bit more opportunity to control what goes on at the football club. We'll have to wait and see. I think if you're looking at negatives, Robert Sanchez. I don't need to talk much more. I don't need to explain it. I don't need to describe it. I don't need to elaborate. Just Robert Sanchez. That is the point. The defense was very suspicious in this game. I think that just comes with playing a 5 at the back, especially if your fullbacks are not very well versed in the system, which is expected. It's the first game of the season. So Chelsea will definitely need to tie up those knots. In terms of Fulham, I thought Fulham were exciting. Of course, Arbeloa coming in his first full-time proper job in management. Of course, he was at Real Madrid, but that was more as an interim role. Gonzalo Garcia, that he brought with him from Real Madrid, getting his first goal at the club. Josh King as well. I thought Fulham were quality. There were a few chances that you're looking at, should be taking those. Anthony Robertson should be taking that. King came close on a few occasions. Fulham were good. Fulham are just that team in the league that you expect them to just be there, right? They can cause you a few problems here and there. And as I said before, they're one of those teams that if you're not up to it, if you're not playing 100%, if you're slacking, if your goalkeeper is making mistakes, as Sanchez did in this game, you will definitely struggle at Craven Cottage. But Chelsea sneak it out. Chelsea leave with all 3 points. And after that performance today from a lot of key players, Moises Caicedo still to come into the team. Reece James not even playing in probably his best position. Actually, we'll have to see. I don't know if Reece James is going to be played more as a midfielder alongside Caicedo or as a wide wing back. But nevertheless, a lot of promising signs for Chelsea, a lot of promising signs for Fulham as well, and a lot of things that they can take forward going into their next few games. But of course, a lot of yapping later. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section about all the games I talked about. From Arsenal's return to the Premier League with that championship swagger, Manchester United falling victim to a terrible loss against newly promoted Hull, Crystal Palace losing to Everton, new manager Glasner at Forest falling to Leeds, as well as newly promoted Ipswich beating Sunderland. Of course, some of the big hitters sneaking out with key points in Manchester City, as well as Liverpool, Spurs falling victim to a pumping at Brentford, as well as Aston Villa pumped by Brighton. And of course, lastly, Chelsea. What did you make of that brilliant, exhilarating performance away at Craven Cottage? Let me know all that and a whole lot more. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. New video, I don't know when it will be out. There's going to be weekend football this upcoming weekend. It's my birthday this upcoming weekend, so we'll have to wait and see. Of course, transfer window is also coming to an end. Barcelona wants to sell Alejandro Balde. I don't know why, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. Julian Alvarez, the Atletico fans are booing him. There might be a bombazo in these last few weeks or these last few days of the transfer window. So don't go too far. As always, as I said, make sure you subscribe, like, comment. Take care of yourselves, and goodbye.